Well, this takes us to Let's Talk Tech. And joining me is Henry Kobler, who is lead for Eyes of Africa. And as the year draws to a close, Henry is going to share with us his top tech stories for 2023. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us, Henry. So you'd like to start, because I see on your list the first to do with the introduction of Threads, which was quite exciting at the beginning, but now disappointing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daryl. So yes, Thread was exciting. I mean, generally not exciting to me, but to I think that to social media enthusiasts, because anytime that we're having social media coming up with new things, I think that people always get excited. I mean, the introduction of TikTok relatively took a lot of trails and trails around. It's really given a lot of people employment. It's introduced the social media influencers part. I mean, for it to actually be even given awards, that should tell you that it's sort of given a lot of impact into sales, marketing, and all of those things. And so I thought that Thread was going to just shake up the bottoms exceptionally, because we're looking at how it was going to come rival Twitter, which had actually been a bone of contention and had issues coming in. And so generally, I thought that it was going to blow up. They did well on the very first run, but I think that's sort of struggling. I see that the Meta is sort of doing a lot of integrations into its existing applications, which is good, but I think that it might not necessarily fly like the way I thought it would, unless of course you're bringing some level of unique features on the platform that is going to be exceptionally different from what Twitter is sort of doing. On the lookout, you're also looking at how Twitter is also gearing itself up to come up with quite a lot of things. I mean, the whole idea of the branding, which is actually taking place this year into X, generally gives you a sense of what exactly they're looking at. And so it starts with the name, it starts with the concept they want to throw out there. It starts with the founder trying to make some level of changes, which is very vigorous, but exceptionally also looking at how he's going to generate revenue from X comes in very hard. I mean, people thought that X relatively is going to go down if X Blue is sort of going to come in, but I think that it sort of gained some level of weight. I've seen a lot of subscriptions to the blue ticks, and I think that they're doing well with the concept of having an all-in-one platform, AI-oriented, cryptocurrency-oriented, payments digitalization also coming in forcefully. I think that 2024 looks exciting for X, for that matter, Twitter, and I think that it's sort of having to do a lot to connect or rival X in that matter.
All right, so let's move on and talk about X, or Twitter, as some would call it, because people are excited about Threads because of the frustrations with X or Twitter, because Elon Musk had taken over and there were so many changes. People just got frustrated with it. But hey, I mean, a few months along the way, people have no choice. They're still on X. Talk to us about, should I say, X's transformation over time since Elon Musk took over?
I think that, I mean, generally, Elon had actually looked at the platform as a very big platform. I mean, I can tell you the backstory of how he basically looked at how he wanted to pick up this company. It just started as a tweet where somebody says, "Can you just buy Twitter of the owners?" And I mean, just him picking up that comes in handy. Now, him coming in, he basically had to shut down the African unit of Twitter, which became a big issue, and then had to let go of top management and top developers who were actually within the whole concept and heart of X, for that matter, Twitter. And so being able to do that, bringing in new faces to sort of man, and then he started implementing the name branding has been one of the most important things, because again, he sort of wants you to know that he sort of picked up the company and he's sort of trying to do something different. And so him changing the name alone gives you a different perspective about it. And then he sort of jumps into introduction of the blue ticks as on payment, which excitingly I'd seen that it was sort of working, because he sort of has this concept of taking out bots and making sure that there are real human beings behind most of the accounts. And again, also trying to generate some level of revenue for the company so that he could sort of build most of the tools he wants to build in. If you're looking at Elon as a person and how he connects to platforms, you could realize it from his platforms in terms of the space, in terms of how he's running Tesla. You can realize that he's a very futuristic person. And so far as social media comes into play as everyday I mean, general users spend most of their time on social media. He wants to get to that aspect as well. And then now start transforming that aspect in terms of making sure that he's enabling payment all across the world. He's sort of making internet accessibility open, making sure that he's sort of carrying out real-time information and making sure that information across on his platform becomes genuine and stands in the test of time in terms of information flow. And then again, he's also looking at how he could leverage on that with his passion for cryptocurrency and the blockchain. And so he sees Twitter and for that matter X as a better platform which he could leverage on. And so him coming in, buying this company, deploying it and putting some level of new faces to it, I think that he's sort of done well. Again, because competition looks as that people just want the old Twitter. I mean, Thread comes into play. But again, you should realize this, that social media influences us so much. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, you would have realized that, status was not a big deal. Now status is like everything. Mm-hmm. And so at the introduction of status, it just looked weird. It just looked like it was not a really better function, but it had come into play. And so same with Elon, he's sort of looking at the introduction of quite a lot of things, which is rather going to speed him up in 2024, as I can predict. It's sort of going to be one of the most powerful platforms. The numbers are going to rise on that, and stocks are going to rise on that as well.
Okay, even when some companies are boycotting when it comes to advertisement, I also wanted to point out that those workers or the staff that were in the African office or the Africa office here in Ghana have still not been compensated. I don't think so. If there's any development on that, you could share with us, but I doubt that they have been compensated at all. Well, let's talk about, we can't talk about 2023 and not talk about artificial intelligence. This is the year we saw OpenAI peak, and then the AI wars continue. And I'm pretty sure we're going to hear a lot more about artificial intelligence in 2024.
Artificial intelligence is a new platform. That is a new IT. And so if you're looking at any part, regardless of what kind of artificial intelligence is coming in, you're looking at it as a bigger space, 2024 and beyond. It's sort of coming very strongly. You're seeing OpenAI putting 3.5 GPT, and then you're looking at how they also now looking at 4 and developing more tools around it. It will surprise you how many tools I sort of always see around now, all leveraging on AI. I've seen my very favorite platforms, which I basically would get, tech tools, I could get graphical tools, all now emerging into AI. It's been powerful in terms of how it was used, how it's being used now, and how people are sort of looking at pushing it into place. I realized that there was an award system in Nigeria called No Code Summit. And if you're looking at people now awarding themselves in the area of no code area, that means that people are now generating sort of codes. They're just doing generative AI more to be able to build a lot of things without having to even understand the code that runs behind it. And that's scary for quite a lot of jobs, even in the tech sector, because again, usually people talk about loss of jobs and think that within the IT system, a lot of people rather are safer. But then again, you realize that the graphic designer is at risk. You're having the web developers at risk, the mobile application developers at risk. And so they also need to now do a lot more work into getting to understand AI, getting to understand machine learning, augmented reality. All of that coming into place for them to sort of upgrade and be there and be able to pick up and still exist in the system. And so AI now is the platform. AI now is the IT. We're going to see a lot more of that. But I think that a lot of people in Ghana should start looking to taking advantage of it. Our institutions could actually start looking into a curriculum where they could provide a lot more. A lot of my mates I studied with in tech relatively had to travel out of the country to do machine learning and artificial intelligence, again, because we don't have those course outlines in our universities. And so I think that the universities should definitely leverage on the fuzz and the buzz about it, and should also be able to have people trained in that sector. I think that it will do us a lot of good. Can you imagine if we're introducing AI on digital systems, which is being pushed by the government, the policies on that? I'm sure that just at a click, you could definitely just generate a lot of information about someone, especially to aid in this, the call for having credit score the call for joining or integrating most of the systems which we have, Ghana Card, and all of those systems basically coming into play. And so by just an AI tool coming into play, you could definitely merge all our systems. Your tax net basically just gets to be widened and all of that. And so I foresee that it would actually do a lot more good. But we are, as developers within the sector in Ghana and Africa, should also take advantage of it and start pushing in some implementation. I think that there should be that policy that should also give it some leverage around it, and not that immediately pushing up concept you're being taxed all around, but you could do a lot more without taxes.
All right, Henry, thank you so much. I mean, we couldn't touch on your point number 4, but I'm just going to read it anyway. You talk about the EU Parliament giving final approval for the ban on petrol and diesel cars in 2023, and then Ghana's electronic the tax waiver on electronic vehicles. And point number 5 for you was a peak of influencers in Ghana. Hopefully we can talk about that some other time. Thank you so much for bringing us your top 5 tech stories of 2023. I appreciate it.